Hi guys, welcome back to As We Speak. This week we're going to talk about a very important issue about predatory behavior online, and I wanted to thank Lee Cummings from Beat the Cyberbully for coming back and talking to us about what I believe is a very, very important and critical topic.
Indeed. Pleasure to be back again.
Thanks, Barry. So I'm one of the lucky parents because I don't really know what this is, simply because my children haven't been subject to it. But unfortunately, today there are so many young people the world over that are dealing with terrible kinds of predatory behavior online as we speak.
They are indeed, yeah, and it's a real shame, but it's something that's happening the world over, and it's happening on the ground here in the UAE as well. So the one subject that we perhaps should broach initially is this, the idea of grooming. And so it's a term that some parents may have heard, some parents may not have heard, and it revolves around the idea of predators out there establishing a relationship with your child by pretending to be somebody that they're not. So our digital native children are putting so much information out there about themselves, young girls in particular, about how they're feeling and that they're maybe depressed and maybe broken up with a boyfriend or something, and things are not going their way, and they put all this out there through all of their different apps. The predators out there monitor and see this information and then see an opportunity to strike up a conversation, and their profile looks like another 11-year-old, 12-year-old. In the background, this predator is establishing a relationship and building trust with your child, with the end goal of effectively getting them to do something that they perhaps don't want to do. Either that can be sharing information, so grooming, the act of grooming is to get that child to trust them. Once the trust is there, that the predator might ask that young person to meet them offline. So when they turn up, there's unfortunately a predator there, and there are documented cases of abductions and so forth, and then the ultimate tragedy of young people losing their lives. That can be sort of the end result, which is the most tragic, if you like. But in the sort of the scale of things, the other outcomes can also be things like extortion. So there are scenarios played out where a young person has established that relationship, trusts that person. The predator then asks for inappropriate content, nudes, for example, or pictures that a young person wouldn't normally feel comfortable with.
And that's not even legal here in the UAE.
No, it isn't. And if that young person takes a picture of themselves nude, they're actually breaking the law, because you're not allowed to do that. But say that young person takes that picture, sends it through to the predator, and then that predator turns around and says, right, well, I want 1,000 dirhams transferred to this bank account, otherwise I will share this picture with your year group, or I'll share it into the WhatsApp group, or I'll share it to your school, or I'll just put it on the internet, and then you have to deal with the fallout of it. And so that's extortion. And prior to extortion, there's coercion, which is the act of building a relationship to the point where that young person decides, okay, I will send that nude picture, or I'll say something, or I'll put something in writing that can then be used against them. And this is the kind of predatory behavior that's going on. One of the positive ways we can talk to them about this is that, as we just said previously, is that taking a picture of yourself and sending it to somebody is actually against the law here. However, the authorities are looking at things the way that we would perhaps hope they would. That, yes, my 12-year-old daughter has made a mistake and has broken the law, but actually the bigger criminal in this is the potential pedophile or predator who has been grooming my daughter by establishing this relationship and pretending to be someone else. And actually we should be focused on capturing this person, and that is how the authorities are looking at this. So it's something that we want to talk to our children about.
Now, Barry, you said 11, 12 years old. So it starts as early as 11, 12 years old.
Here in the UAE, we have the youngest average age in the world of when a person receives a mobile device, and that's 9 years old. So there are 9-year-olds with devices. We've been into schools where there are 7- and 8-year-olds who have got devices, and unfortunately they are not physically developed to understand what is happening.
How can you kind of make this a bit positive for us in terms of what we can do? Because it would just make anyone listening to this feel so helpless, right?
Sure. It's about understanding what these things are, first of all, and that, yes, there are a number of children experiencing this, and there is a high probability that our child won't. But we don't want to take that chance. And so that's about having these conversations with our children. There's some programs that have been produced by the things like the NSPCC in the UK. They launched a campaign a number of years ago called Share Aware, and finding those videos and watching them with your children so that you can explain what's going on. They're animated so that they're less threatening. So we go back to basics in terms of really reinforcing the idea that if you don't know who they are, then we probably shouldn't be connecting with them. We shouldn't be allowing them into our circle online, and we most certainly shouldn't be sharing personal information with them, because there have been a number of social experiments performed where, with the permission of parents, a young guy said, I think that I can get your daughter, 13 or 14, to meet me on her own, even though she doesn't know who I am.
And it's happened.
And it's happened. If we think we're having regular conversations, we need to have more regular conversations to really get this message coming through. But if we don't talk to them about it, they're probably going to find out about it through their online activity, or they're going to be taught about it by a complete stranger. And it would be much better if mum and dad were able to have those conversations, set the parameters, get the guidelines in place. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but in this digital age, it's absolutely necessary.
Next week, we discuss the role of social media, as well as measures taken by social media apps to hopefully prevent activities like grooming and other potentially harmful content that might affect our kids.